we have to kind of screen a little bit when we get initial leads.
Yeah, like you say, other than your website and things along that line, how do you go out into the community? I would suspect that any clubs that would be interested in having you make a presentation, or to go to the schools. So locally, if somebody was interested in what you were doing and asked you to speak to a group.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the things that I want to get back involved with. I did enjoy teaching. When I was in high school, I was teaching to my peers. The teachers ended up liking it so much, they asked me to start teaching adults in the community. So I started teaching adults through Mesabi's community education. And that was a blast. I really enjoyed that. It's nice to be able to have people come up to you, and even though you're not getting paid for what you're doing, pat you on the back or shake your hand and say, I really appreciate what you're doing. Your work is getting noticed. So that's one thing that I really like doing. And then I was able to teach at the college level for a short time at Minnesota State University, Mankato, doing lectures. So that's one thing I do want to get back involved with in the community. Any interested clubs or organizations, definitely contact us through the website. Due to the interest that's out there with certain clients and the popularity of ghost hunters, we don't give out our phone number unless we contact the client and we can see if it's something that we can directly be involved with. But they can definitely contact us through the website, or shoot us an email. There's forms and all that stuff how to contact us. We'd be more than likely, to do it, to be happy to do it. But otherwise, we do have programs that we want to continue, such as a Field of Screams in Chisholm. That was a blast. They had about 7,000 people go through, and I figure that we probably saw over 1,000 people at our table sharing stories with us.
Okay, then along the line here, you talk about the historical aspect of the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and you're teaching it at a college, so I would suppose, way back in the 1600s and everything else, and we were just talking maybe about America, the 1500s.
Mm-hmm.
There was, where people had the misconception some gal was a witch and they'd burn them at the stakes and all that. But how far back does this go? And when you're making a presentation at a school to students,
mm-hmm.
basically, how far back do you go? How do you approach the subject matter and then bring it up to the modern times?
Well, it definitely goes back to the early 1900s, the turn of the century. The Fox sisters in New York actually started what was called the spiritual movement. That's where the Ouija boards, the seances, the rappings, all that stuff became popular. When the camera was actually invented, they started noticing that the camera was taking pictures of people that were supposedly deceased. Today we know that they just weren't cleaning off the plates right.
Okay.
You were modern day double exposure. But that's what fueled the interest in ghosts in the afterlife. Thomas Edison, in fact, actually was working on a device shortly before he died that was supposed to be able to communicate the dead. If you actually go into an off branch of what we're doing, or kind of more in depth into just the audio and TV, there's something that's called intertrans communication. That would be a form of like the EVP, where the dead use electronic devices to contact the living. It's a very fascinating subject. People in Sweden, there's actually a couple of researchers that were looking into the means of contacting the dead while they're alive. Well, a couple other people in the United States and Colorado were actually continuing this work, and this work has actually contacted the original researchers. There actually seems to be a bridge that was formed, and you can find more of this definitely on the web. I'm actually listening to the actual recordings that they've gotten. But then in the 50s and 60s, J.B. Ryan started a university at Duke University. He started a section just devoted to parapsychology, which was ESP, psychokinesis. Ghosts and hauntings were involved in that too, because the mind was definitely affecting the environment. The conscious energy level went actually into the collegiate level and started to form colleges, courses, studies and they actually do continue that research in the UK now at the university level. As far as I know, the Ryan Institute's the only educational institute that still continues those studies. And then, of course, the 70s, the horror movies started coming out, got the public interest in ghosts, and 80s, obviously, with the 1984 movie Ghostbusters, started going more mainstream. And now today, you have shows like Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State. I know A&E has some new shows, Psychic Kids that came out, and they're just absolutely eating up the ratings. So we're definitely what I like to consider into a new spiritualist movement. I can only assume that today is much like it was back in the turn of the century with the Fox sisters and their seances. So
like you say, you're going kind of on the background of other people's experiences and then just upgrading it. Maybe you have more information, more technology.
Definitely, it's kind of a snowball.
Because Robert Anderson, what did he have? The light bulb, So from that point on, I suppose each generation was able to tweak it a little bit more to, to be able to do more in the area to prove or disapprove. And now the technology that they have today, and we'll get into that a little later on, the technology that you use. But you went into this a little bit, and like everything else, when you form a team and you pick a site, and actually you picked a site first, and I remember you said that basically somebody would approach you, or in the course of a conversation they mentioned something that might be of interest to you, and you would just ask them, well, hey, we do this, we do that, any chance of going in there and checking it out? So at that point there, now you got the site, you got some people that feel that they have got something that they can't explain. So now, how many on the team, where are they from, and what equipment do they bring with them? You explained a little bit about what the equipment is, but now you've got to get the people with the equipment, the team with the equipment. So are you going to set up? How do you set up?
Well, as far as investigations, when we initially show up and how we set up?
Yeah, we're forming your team.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the investigation, all the rest of it.
Okay. As far as a team goes, each member pretty much uses a piece of equipment that we have. Like I said, we have utility members, and I definitely consider myself a utility member. I do have a little bit more experience than some on our team, so I definitely play the teacher and leader role too. But as far as equipment, everybody on the team uses the cameras or the audio recorders. Everybody wants to try their hand at something new and see how they are with it. So